Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of the Paws Up Podcast, your host for all things FIU athletics and FIU news related. Of course, hosted by the Lemon City Life crew. With me, as always, is Kevin. I'm Jake Gibson. And our guest today is none other than Liam Rooney. Liam Rooney is a good friend of mine. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm finally glad to be on here. It's been a while in the making, but we finally worked it out.
It took. We had to contact your agents. We had to get all the paperwork settled, but we're here. We finally got you on the show.
It was a bunch of just
all it took for Scott was a text. For you, it was a whole meeting.
Listen. It was a bunch of just days that I could, and you guys could. We're here, and that's the good thing.
So, Liam. To my knowledge, before we start, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a very happy holidays and a Happy New Year that I hope you all had. I hope we all got some great things for Christmas, and if of course we're all celebrating. I know I did. I got a lot of nice things here and there, and I got this.
That's cool.
That was pretty
cool.
You just wish it was playing on Sunday, but it's okay.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that later. But all right, so Liam. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you graduated from FIU not that long ago, and your current titles are writer for Palm Beach Post, and you're also doing some work for the Herald. Is that correct?
I'm doing a couple freelance things for the Herald and freelance all around. I haven't done much for the Post recently, but I still keep in contact with them. Currently in the job hunt, the fun process of that. But yeah, 3 weeks ago, I graduated about 3 weeks ago with my bachelor's degree and just been enjoying it. But new year, so I'm ready to try to dip my feet back into the media world and hope an opportunity comes soon, but we might have more on that soon, but we'll see.
I like that teaser, Liam. That's really good. We might have to come back on that later. So if to those who are watching on, again, thank you for watching on either our Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube channels. In our social media posts, there was a cryptic message on the Meet the Guest section that said, "No, I think he knows Jake from somewhere," and that somewhere is, of course, I'm talking about PantherNOW. When I was the sports director there, Liam was one of my finest writers. He was the guy for soccer, though he also, of course, did some football and I believe some basketball here and there. And when I graduated, Liam took over. He took the helm. It ain't easy to transfer from sports director to sports director. At least that's what I'm told. But Liam handled it very well for his time spent at FIU, and PantherNOW Sports is still killing it. I saw Brian Olmo is now the new sports director. So
yes,
Brian, if you're watching this, shout out, man. Best of luck, and let's get into it, man. Liam. So first things first. Wanted to ask you real quick. So you've spent your time at FIU. You did quite a bit. You got your degree. You worked for PantherNOW and you did a bunch of stuff, not even FIU related, of course, with the Palm Beach Post. I wanted to ask you, what was your biggest takeaway from being a sports writer for PantherNOW and then turning into the director? How important do you think that experience was to set yourself up where you are now, working for two of the biggest media outlets in South Florida?
Huge. It's where I got my start. So I always have PantherNOW very high on the list. It'll always be near and dear to me. I think it's very important to get that experience at like a student newspaper or some sort of organization when you're in school, where it's kind of less stress. I mean, it's impossible not to be stressful when you're working in the media, but it's a little less stress and more of a relaxed vibe, which PantherNOW was. Obviously, we had to buckle down at moments, but I think it's a great place to learn. And I learned so much about myself and my writing and where I want to go with my career through PantherNOW. And then, obviously helped me land internships and freelance opportunities and everything. But I got an award for it. So, all of it really, I couldn't be in the position that I am today without it. And then, going into director, it's a whole nother, like the writing aspect and the director act, completely different worlds entirely. As you know, Jake, it's two different worlds entirely.
Yeah.
And I think the director thing really helps you because, from managing teams, editing to all the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't really get talked about. It's a lot more work than I initially realized. I don't know if you felt that when you first started, but it's a ton of fun. And I think that's the part. It's that experience is always a ton of fun. And it's where you learn if you really want to do this or not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So the reason I asked that, Liam, mainly is, we've had quite a few different types of guests on the show. We were lucky enough to have Kyle Russell, a coach for soccer, on the show not that long ago. We had Scott Carr, the AD. And then we had, and last episode 5, we had Eric Henry. So, but keep in mind, our first guest was Jonathan Mayer, who you and I know quite well, and now you're on the show. I like having the student aspect on this show because we can talk about things that FIU students coming in or like are currently or at FIU, they can learn a bit. So, from one student to another, I got to ask you, just overall, how was your time spending your, I believe it was 4 years here at FIU? Just what advice would you give to students coming into FIU that are maybe interested, not just in sports journalism, but just, who love sports and want to take advantage of that at this college?
Yeah. It was about 3.5 years, so we can round up and call it 4.
Okay.
First thing I would always say is enjoy every second of it because I, like many of us, got unfortunately some of our experience cut short with COVID. I spent a year in my kind of experience in college. But when it comes to the sports side, I mean, there's a lot of real fun athletics here. I'm a soccer guy, so I'm going to say it. Men's soccer, they're a ton of fun to go to. Even the basketball games are great. Men's and women's basketball, regardless of the score, the guys and girls, they put on a show. Like they're always having fun. Like I always found that like, even if they're regardless of the score, you're going to get some highlights. So I know the men's and women's team are both playing right now against Charlotte. So I'm not sure the score, but go games. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's always been the thing that we've seen is student attendance isn't there, but there's a lot of talent here that I don't think people realize. And it's a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Kevin, I know, Jake, you were at some of the football games. You and I were at all those football games. There's some times where, like, there's nobody in the crowd. And like, we're watching. Like that last game of the season, that last game against Middle Tennessee, I know they came short, but that was one of the best games that we had seen.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so it's just
he's sounding like Scott Carr, ain't he, Kevin? Like that sounds verbatim what Scott Carr said in our episode with him. Like, oh, we need to get attendance going, and I couldn't agree more. I'm happy you brought up that COVID year. It was not fun. Obviously, classes canceled, and then all the Zoom classes we had to do. I thought it was fun at first. Like the first few days, oh, you do Zoom classes. That sounds awesome. And then it's like, doesn't really feel like college. It just feels like, a task you have to do from your own house. But as someone who's done 4 years myself, Jenny students coming in, just go out there, find something fun to do, whether it's a job on campus, some sort of recreation, whether you want to hang out at GC, join the esports club, join like one of the hundreds of clubs we have on campus, right? And just get out there, make some friends, go to some games, support the teams, because especially when we talk about soccer, you'll find that soccer has a lot to be excited about here at FIU. And again, it's weird because my time there, I thought it was a football school, and then as we've seen, it's turned into a soccer
school.
Yeah. Let's not beat around the bush. All right. So you mentioned earlier you had some stuff you were working on. What are with the Herald and the Palm Beach Post? What are the topics you're mainly working on these days for both those outlets?
Just right now it's just freelance work. So whatever I can find, or if they need an extra hand. It's a very tough time in the journalism industry right now, obviously, but I'm trying to keep my skills sharp as I can. Recently, I had the piece in the Miami Herald about Natalie Guerin-Bosch, who is the beach volleyball player. She's getting a master's at FIU right now. She's a beach volleyball alum. That was, one of the better stories that I've done. I had a lot of fun with that because it was a sports, quote unquote, story. But it really wasn't about the sport. It was more about her and Ernie and kind of what she's doing now, which I found to be fun. Kind of talking about beyond the athletes. And that's something I love is like, there's people behind those jerseys and cleats. So I love it. So that's kind of just the things that I've been doing when I have the chance, and then applying for jobs where I can, and interviewing whenever I'm ready. That's it, So, and then coming on the Paws Up podcast. If you guys want me, just let me know. I'll tell the agent.
I'm very happy you brought up the work and your desire to talk to present athletes, not just as athletes but as people. That's something that I know you had the chance to do at PantherNOW when you got to interview. I believe it was Tyler Hogan for men's soccer, and write that profile on him. Again, we're giving PantherNOW a bunch of free advertising here. But I will say, if you are a freshman or sophomore, you're into journalism, and you want to go somewhere to work on it, go to PantherNOW. I'm just going to say it was fun. Got to meet a lot of nice people. Got to do a lot of awesome stuff. And so let's move on now to a bit of sports talk. Why don't we, Kevin? Take it away.
Yeah. So, you mentioned a lot about FIU soccer. That's, soccer school at this point. Huge season for them. They got all the way to the Sweet 16. We were there for, I believe it was the first round of the NCAA tournament for in that rain, the penalty shootout, the 13 rounds. What were your thoughts on the 2022 FIU men's soccer team?
I got to say that team was, obviously last year they won their conference in 2021. They beat the number one team in Marshall. Again, they made a tournament run, but this year's team was far better. I mean, this was the best team I've seen from them since I was here. They come into the American Athletic Conference first year. It's one of the best conferences in all of college soccer. They do the double, they win the league and they win the conference title in the tournament. And the way that they won the regular season, they went on I think they ended the season 6 games unbeaten, beating Charlotte, FAU, a bunch of good American schools, like American Athletic Conference schools. That last second goal against FAU to claim the regular season title. This was a memorable team, and I feel like in the history of FIU athletics, this will be one that they can look back on, just because of the memorable moments they had. And then the guys, like, I'm sure we'll talk about them later, but Steven Africa, who obviously is now moving on to the MLS, and then guys like Bernardo dos Santos Montero, David Garcia, Carlos Shecker, the list goes on. They were a loaded squad, and they unfortunately fell short against Duke in the Sweet 16. But Duke is Duke. They're a great program. And there's no shame in losing to them. And you mentioned that UNH game. I mean, I'm 22 years old. I've watched soccer, played soccer my entire life. That was one of the craziest games I've ever witnessed. I mean, the rain, the 2-hour delay. I think we were 13. I was running out of Twitter characters when I was live tweeting the penalty shootout because we were so. I can't keep up. I mean, we kept looking at each other like, "Yo, is this ever gonna end?" And then UNH would miss, and then we'd miss, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And for me personally, I mean, I was born in Boston. I lived in New Hampshire, like 30 minutes away from UNH's campus. I grew up very close to UNH. Obviously, go to FIU, so it was a weird game, and with the regular season that against UNH, they lost 3-0. It was wild. But no, they're definitely the building blocks are there too to go on next year, do even better. Which there's not much better they can do. Farther in the NCAA tournament is literally, I'd say it, or maybe go unbeaten. But you're going to lose a couple guys. But Kyle Russell, we've seen his recruiting profile and his recruiting policy. He brings in a lot of talent. So I think they have the foundations to be really, really good for a few years now.
You mentioned some of the guys on the team. Who were some players that definitely stood out to you and maybe even impressed you throughout the season?
I mean, I can go with the safe one when it says standing out. Clearly, we're gonna say Steven Afrifa. I mean, that one's always you have to say it. It's a given. I mean, the guy was electric, 10 goals, 4 assists, and we've seen the way he plays. Like, it's not just the goals and assists for him. He creates danger when he's on the field, and it was a joy to watch him. But I like the underrated guys. Like guys like Julian Gastaldi really surprised me. The French midfielder. I remember he scored a amazing goal against Tulsa. He took on about 3 different defenders, dropped them all, and put it in the far corner. Philip Hildebrandt, fantastic at the back. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's one of the most important pieces of that FIU team. And guys like Paulo Alves up top. It's hard playing with Steven Afrifa and Bernardo dos Santos Montero. Those guys, they're going to draw the attention, but Paulo Alves did a really good job this season. His pace, his speed, he was so quick to the ball, and he caused a lot of danger. So those are the guys that kind of were standing out. It was a talented bunch, but those, in my opinion, were the guys that kind of went out. And the back line of David Garcia and Carlos Shekeman, the Spanish duo, I think they were all season, whenever they played together, flawless. I don't know. I know, Kevin, you watched a couple of those games. You could see just the way they read the game brings that sort of calm for everybody else to kind of build off of.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of want to look into 2023 now. So what are your thoughts about the team going into 2023? Do you feel like this team can maybe go further into the NCAA tournament if they make it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. What undid them against Duke was set pieces, and that was kind of the thing that was one of their only issues. They had very few issues this year, and that was one of them, set pieces. They, especially towards the end of the season, a lot of the goals they were conceding were either from free kicks, free kicks, corner kicks, penalties. So, they weren't getting beat in open play. They were getting beat by essentially free plays. And, that's what undid it against Duke. So I think they do have the chance to go farther. I think the chance to do exactly the same thing that they did this year. You obviously fill a Steven Afrifa-sized gap at the top. But you can look at a guy like Bernardo dos Santos Montero to step up and go in there. You're going to have the young guys. Russell is going to be hard in his recruiting. He always has talent. Nothing official yet, but I'm sure he's been working on it, and we'll see names come soon. And all the guys who've been there now, they're 2 years in. Like I mentioned Bernardo. You're just gonna have guys like Mateus Levenant in the midfield, Gasparoni, Julian Hodek. Like, these guys are 2 years in now, 2 tournament appearances, 2-time conference champions. They're going into their prime years as athletes at FIU. And they can lead the young guys, because we'll see some of the younger guys come through who maybe didn't get time this year, or Kyle Russell's going to bring in. And, the way he coaches, I went to a couple of their practices, and you can see it's demanding. He's demanding of them. The first time I talked to him in the preseason, he told me, listen, we're gonna go and try and win 3 titles. They got 2 of them. They got close-ish to the 3rd one. And, I know all off season what he's going to be doing is trying to recruit and build to then make it, 3 out of the 3 rather than 2 out of the 3. So I think they have a chance. I do think they have a chance to go farther. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And, I'm interested to see what he does in the recruiting process. That's really where my interest is.
Probably the most impressive thing about the men's soccer team is their ability to recruit, not just in the United States, but all over the damn world. So that's going to be exciting to see what next young star they can bring in. So let's shift it over to football, the other football. Over at it's not the Ricardo Silva Stadium. They just call it the FIU Football Stadium.
FIU Football Stadium.
Even though all the signs are still there. I don't get it. But we're coming off a 4-8 season. Liam, I know you've been to a few of those football games. Actually, did you miss any games that season, or did you have a perfect attendance?
I was at every single home game.
Hey, good job, Liam. I made that a priority when I was the sports director. I can't miss game. So 4-8, 4 straight losses to end the season. 2-6 in the conference. there's not a lot I can really say positive about FIU football that we haven't already said in our last few episodes on the show when we spoke with Eric and Johnny and all of that. But I do want to hear your take on how you felt overall from the football season, because you spoke with Mike McIntyre post game. You've seen FIU football just as much as anybody else. So I want to hear your big takeaways from this football season.
Where do you start? I mean, talk the up and downs like a roller coaster ride. The season was definitely a ride. The way they start with the Bryant victory, granted it's Bryant, but it was a very good game. Show the grit to come back. You win that in overtime. You follow it up with two pretty, I don't know how to say it nicely, but just horrid losses to Texas State and then to Western Kentucky. It wasn't good. And then, you bounce back, you get your first away win in D1 football against Mexico State. So it was all over the place. And at one, you're 4-4, you're at 500, and you have a chance at maybe making a bowl game. That peak of the season for me right there is when I started really trying to see what this team was made of, because that's when the pressure's on. Now you're 2 games away from a bowl, which would be history. I mean, you guys win 1 game in like 2 years, and then you have a chance to go to a bowl game. McIntyre has his first season. It all works out. It's all, fairy tale ending. But you mentioned it, this 4 straight losses. I think it's, they had a good season in what we expected. 4 wins was probably the expectation, maybe above expectations. But the way it ended versus where it was in the middle of the season just never sits right with me. I thought they would have picked up at least 1 or 2 more, especially that last one we talked about. Middle Tennessee battled all the way back and they kind of threw it away at the end. So I think there's definitely work to do, but I think overall it's positive. They were far better than I think anyone anticipated. They put up fights in good games. There's obviously games to highlight, like the FAU game, the Western Kentucky game, but that's part of the process. I think McIntyre is the right coach. I think he answered that question. There was definitely a lot of question marks around his hire when he was first, brought onto the scene. But I think he's the right guy. And, we saw him in the press conferences. I know, Jake, you were there. Kevin, you were there in press conferences. We were all there.
Lights out! Lights out!
But I think that's I respect it. Lights out. I mean, that's the thing that he brings. He's the energy that he brings. It's palpable even in the press conferences. When they win, he comes in there, he's hyped up, he's ready for all of us. They lose, you can see how much it means to him. So he clearly cares about the program, and I think that's really important. As you saw in the clip, I mean, the recruiting class, that's another thing. I think we'll get into that. So I won't go too much into it. But I have a mixed bag to sum up. I have a mixed bag of feelings for the season. I'm happy that, 4 wins, a lot of younger guys stepped up, but then there's a bunch of people in the transfer portal. So, it's an interesting process, but I think they're on the right track and maybe on a quicker timeline than some of us expected.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go to, because 4-8, not a good record, but when you think of it, a team that won 1 game in the last 2 seasons to then go on and win 4 games, and some of these games were good. The LA Tech game, that was a really good game. Unfortunately, it was not there. You were there. And when it's overtime, Rivaldo had a good game. Grayson had a good game. And that's kind of where I want to get to now. And I know we'll talk about that recruiting class next, but although some of these guys are no longer with FIU, who are some of the guys that really impressed you this season and then maybe disappointed you as well?
Yeah. I got to say impressed. You already said his name, but Grayson James, he finally got the starting job. Honestly, after unfortunate set of circumstances for Gunnar Holmberg, he goes down in the first game, concussion protocols, and then he injures his shoulder, and it kind of was the end of his football career, which is really, really sad. But Grayson comes into that game, and I think he had 4 touchdowns and 300 yards or something in the first game. And he came in at in the second quarter or halftime, and he kind of never looked back. He was kind of making the team his own, and I think he could be the quarterback for the next 2 years that FIU needs. To rebuild a program successfully, you need a quarterback, and I think they have that. outside of that, Sean Peterson, transferring, transitioning from the backfield as a running back to linebacker, very difficult. And you wouldn't have known. I mean, he was one of the best rated in Pro Football Focus linebackers in the country. He was stellar. And another guy who's no longer with us, Andrew Volmar, he was amazing out there as a DB. He was fantastic. And, I think he went to University Louisiana Monroe. And I think I think it was ULM. I think he's going to do great out there. And I think it's a good opportunity for him. Wish he would have stayed, understand the decision. But he was one of the standouts for me because he had a rough start. He did have a rough start to the year, and he kind of came into his own. I think it was after that Western Kentucky game. A lot of the guys after that Western Kentucky game took it personally and kind of came back. Disappointing. It's harsh, but I was a little disappointed with the offensive line. I know the thing is, though, is like I say that with a grain of salt because I know that they were injured and they were, struggling to get some consistency up front. And it's hard to criticize that, but if you have to look at an area like that, I would say that. And then, I don't know. I think it's just that. And then honestly, like some of the play calling on the offensive side of the ball, I like David Yost. I like his offense. At times, I think the thing that I was disappointed with was the pace. I thought it was too quick. There was a couple games where the Panthers were down early or they were, driving. They just got a good stop on defense. And it was like a long, grueling drive for the defense. And, they're 3 and out in 30 seconds. And now the defense is back on the field. And I think that's why we saw so many scores get run up early in the season because the defense wasn't getting time to rest. And it was hard for them to kind of get a mojo going. If you look towards the end of the season, I think it was around, I think you mentioned the LA Tech game, they started slowing the offense down a little bit more. Scores started creeping down on the defensive side, and the points were going up. So I think that was, for me, the biggest, I guess, quote-unquote, disappointment because there was talent on the offensive side of the ball. You mentioned Rivaldo, Tyrese Chambers, obviously, Dean Patterson, the list goes on, Chris Mitchell, and, the running back group. So I just think, if they had made that switch earlier, I wonder maybe those last 4 games, they maybe pick up a win or two. But at the end of the day, overall, I think they did a good job with the circumstances. Definitely, though, next year's a big year. You go 4-8 again next year, it's a whole different story. That 4-8 looks a lot different than it does this year. This year, you can get by with it because of the past. But you have to, for me, they have to at least go 6-6 next year for me to call it a success.
Yeah, you definitely agree with that, especially with the teams leaving the Conference USA. UTSA, I believe, is gone. FAU's gone. I mean, it's time to take over that conference. Yeah, it's time to take over. And I want to mention that I believe the offense, if it was me, I would have done a little bit more of some gutsy play calls on those 4th downs, especially when you're down, as you mentioned early in the game. You notice, you really have to go for it on 4th down, and that's something I really, I wish they would have done more of. But I want to talk about this recruiting class, which, in my opinion, I was very impressed with the recruiting class. I'm actually a pretty big fan of it. What are your thoughts? It's 20 guys. I won't name them all now, but I have them all in front of me here. So, highlighted by Keon Jenkins, the quarterback. So that's the biggest name there. Then maybe Jack Daly, JT Anderson, who are some of the transfers. Rowdy Beers, the best college name, the best college football name. So, what are your thoughts on that?
You kind of took the words, but I was surprised. I was definitely surprised. Keon Jenkins was obviously a huge one, especially as a signing day surprise. It was great to see him flip the commitment. I think it was Auburn, right? He was initially locked in for Auburn, and then he flipped it to FIU, which was huge. He's a Miami kid, staying local. Grayson's eventually going to get on and graduate. That's your guy next. Have Grayson mentor him. I think it was very strong. I was really surprised, and I think what helped them out a ton, and I think is something they haven't done as much in the past, and they used to, but strayed away from it, recruit locally. That was the big takeaway for me. A lot of local guys, a lot of guys from Miami, around Miami, even up in Palm Beach County, and they know the scene. They know, what it takes to Florida football from high school on, Pee Wee football is completely different. It's like Texas and California, like Florida, Texas, California. Those are the footballing states. Those are football states. And you look at the NFL, majority of those guys come from those three states. You know what I'm saying? They're the powerhouse states. That's why you need to bring in guys locally, the guys who are maybe getting overlooked just from the sheer amount of talent. Like some of these guys may be 2 or 3 stars, but in another state could have been 4 or 5 stars. Maybe not 5 stars, but like 3 or 4 stars. So I think that was what impressed me most, is their commitment to staying local. You mentioned a couple of the guys. Jamar Holliman is a good one for me. That's going to help safety. Is huge because, I think the DBs needed some extra support this season. Safeties needed some, I think that is a huge need. And McIntyre went out, and we talked about it also during the season. They needed to address, offensive line and defense. And I think they went out and did it. I think, offensive line still to come, but I think the young guys that they have will develop better. And if they can stay healthy, they'll be good. Yeah. Defensively, the recruits I was blown away. I was really, really blown away. I kept seeing all the signing day posts, and I was like, I think they got a good one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the new conference USA, they are one of the highest ranked, if not the highest ranked.
They are number one.
They're number one. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was number one or not, but that's awesome. And I think that speaks to McIntyre because, we saw a lot of Twitter posts. We saw him out there. It was the day after a game. I can't remember what a game was. And I saw like a post the next day. He was at a high school in Palm Beach County doing recruiting. And I was like, that's what you need to build a program. So, I was impressed for the first recruiting class. It's the most important one. I think he did a good job with it. I'm really excited to see how some of these guys turn out. And I'm excited to see what they do with the transfer portal. Because we've seen them use that well, especially with some of the JUCO lower D2 guys.
So you brought up the interesting season that Grayson James had, and Gunnar Holmberg also took some snaps this year. And at the surface, you would think, all right, these two quarterbacks, you can see one of them taking the job next season, leading the team. But then, Keon Jenkins from Miami Central, state champion. Oh my God, this is a story. This could be a storybook journey for this man to play in his city and lead the local university to new heights. Who do you see being the main man for FIU in their first game next year against, I believe it's Maine? Who's taking the snaps?
It's hard to say. It's so early on in the process. Once spring ball comes around, we'll get a bit of a better look at things. It's hard to take it away from Grayson because, he had his moments this year where he was like kind of iffy, but that's what you expect from a guy who's a young quarterback, his first season as the starter. I think he did enough. I think he did enough to earn the starting job again. Now, obviously, he still needs to go through the offseason, continue to work, and earn that spot. But, you did mention the story of Keon Jenkins, but I don't think that McIntyre is going to let that influence him. I think, obviously, he's going to use that to get the recruit in. But I don't think he's going to let the narrative of, this local guy can take us to the new heights. If he's not ready, he's not ready. He might be. I know, obviously, he's got the accolades. He's a fantastic quarterback. Originally had the Auburn commitment, flipped it back to FIU in part to help bring them to new heights. But at the same time, you also, with a story like that, you don't want to rush him in there because if you do, it sours it. If things go poorly, then it turns into, okay, well, what do we do now? Because we even brought in the guy locally who was supposed to be the savior, and he can't even do it for us. So I think you gotta take time with it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them split snaps later in the season. I think Grayson takes majority of it, but you see them working in Jenkins because he's talented. You watch his film, you can see it. You see he's talented. He's mobile. He's accurate. He's got a deep ball. The kid can play. The kid can play. Yeah. There's no other. You're not a state champion. The kid can play. And do I think he'll start? I will put it to you this way. He'll start at least one game next year.
Okay.
Whether it's
definitely.
whether it's through an injury, whether it's through he just got better, whatever it may be, at least he's starting in one game. He might not play the whole game. It might be, Jake, you were here, obviously was under Butch Davis, but we remember the times where we're playing 3 or 4 quarterbacks a game.
I still can't believe that happened.
We don't have enough time to get into that one. But maybe we see a dual quarterback system. We've seen it work in college before. It has happened. Or it could be a next version of a much smaller scale. But we've seen it. Got in Tennessee, Joe Milton under Hendon Hooker. Milton finally gets his chance. The guy's good. Can Grayson James be the Hendon Hooker to Keon Jenkins, Joe Milton? That's the question. I think Grayson takes the starting job. I think he's earned the starting job, bar any unfortunate circumstances. I think it's his job to lose. But Keon Jenkins, he's going to get playing time. He absolutely is going to get playing time, in my opinion.
And that's kind of where I wanted to go to with Keon, because I do believe he will get playing time, but will it be more the pressure to put in someone like Keon Jenkins? I mean, this guy's a legend in Miami-Dade. When you look at everything he's done, this guy's flipped his commitment from Auburn, a school like Auburn, to come to this school at FIU, which great school and all. But I mean, you had the opportunity to go to Auburn, which is an amazing school, great football program with all the Fairweather just committed there as well. Just that's one of the transfers. So I think it'll be if Grayson James starts to struggle immediately, you see struggle in Grayson James, which I will say, having an offensive line really, really did not help Grayson James last year, because if he would have had a little bit of more time, I think he would have been a lot better. But
agreed.
If you see the pressure mounting on Coach Mack, I would not be surprised if you see Keon Jenkins coming in midway through a game and then them benching Grayson James or whoever's at the helm at quarterback during the game.
I wholeheartedly agree. And for me, the big thing is you mentioned it, the offensive line. If the offensive line stays healthy, we can truly judge Grayson James, because how many times this year all 3 of us were at games. Grayson takes a snap, he takes one step back, and there's a D lineman in his face. How many times have we seen? So it's like I said, it's hard to judge any of that, and it's hard to blame the offensive line at the same time, because there were new guys every week. I know I said I was disappointed, but if I had to pick that, but new guys every week. So for me, they stay healthy. I think Grayson will be good. When he has time in the pocket, we've seen what he can do. He can work in offense. I do agree with you, Kevin, that if things start to go south, the pressure will be there to be like, hey, you got this guy, Keon Jenkins. He's on your bench. As you mentioned, everything he's done, he's a legend around these parts. Can he add to the legend and kind of be the guy to take FIU to the next level? It has the story. It's written for us, as journalists. It's written for us. Keon Jenkins, local guy, flips commitment from Auburn to become the FIU star, and lead them to the promised land. It's written for us. However, I still state he's still going to be a freshman. No matter how good you are in high school, you have to always remember, when you get to college, even at the worst college, you're still playing the best person in high school's history from somebody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's good. So it'll take some time. I don't want to rush it, I think is what I'm saying. I think he could handle himself. I think he'd be fine. But I also, it happens in the NFL. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He had that 1 year behind Alex Smith. Give a guy a year to develop, and then we throw him in there. It is harder now with the transfer portal, because if a guy doesn't play for a year, he's like, hey, I'm out of here. A guy like Keon Jenkins would have plenty of interest, especially if he does well in practices and has good film and, gets in any games. He'd have plenty of interest. So that's where it gets hard. I think Mac, to get him to flip, might have promised some playing time, because I'm trying to think of ways you flip that commitment. Obviously the local thing is there, but there has to be something else. So I think he might have suggested that we're going to work you in, which I wouldn't be surprised. You should do that. The guy's talented enough. But I'll be interested to see how that dynamic goes. If I can see anything, though, from that quarterback room this year with the way Grayson, Hayden, and Gunnar all were, it won't be anything personal. It'll be like, okay, on the football field, we're competitors. But from what we saw and what we heard and, in our conversations, the 3 of those guys were all super close. They were like brothers. So I think they'll take Keon Jenkins in under their wing. I don't think there will be any animosity. that you see in some QB rooms. So that I think is going to be crucial to his development. And whenever he does get put into the big stage, how he does.
And the final thing I want to mention, sorry, Jake, is that this is a guy who has the possibilities to become maybe one of the best quarterbacks to ever wear the FIU jersey. I mean, the hype that is around this kid is amazing. We were talking about this, Jake, with Eric. I mean, he has that chance to be that quarterback, the best quarterback in FIU history. If obviously everything works well for him, bearing injuries and all that, but he has the opportunity to be that guy. So, and Mike McIntyre knows that very, very well. I made that same mistake last show, but whatever.
I remember that too.
I was gonna let it go, but you caught yourself on it, so it's all good.
So, but he has the opportunity to be that guy, and that's kind of where I wanted to go to, and especially for him to flip, as you mentioned. I mean, what Mike McIntyre must have promised this guy to flip his commitment is the moon and above.
I got to see the NIL deals, bro. I got to see them. I got to see them.
Exactly.
Sponsored by Flanagan's.
Yeah, I would flip anywhere for a Flanny's NIL deal. Are you kidding
Hell
me?
Yeah, dude.
Hell yeah.
Get your face on the cup, man. That's awesome. Oh my!
Give me a cup with my face on it. I'm signing that letter of intent like that day. But yeah, I agree, Kevin. I think he has the potential to be, like we said, not just the best quarterback to pull on the shirt, but he has the potential to be the guy that signified, I wouldn't even say the return to glory. I would just say the transition from FIU being a new football school to being like the, if you ever see the ESPN bottom fives, we're always perennial bottom five.
Yeah.
So he has the opportunity to lead us from that. I'm not going to say to a top 25 team. I'm not going to say all of that. We're very far away from that, but he has this impossible, we can make, we mentioned the new teams in Conference USA. He has the chance to be the guy to take us to maybe a conference title or at least a conference title game. I think we should start there rather than, title. Take us to some bowl games, something not like the Bahamas. I mean, the Bahamas Bowl is great. Don't get me wrong. We've won bowl games. Awesome, but I'm talking maybe when you have an 8-win team, you can get into an even better bowl game, Maybe he's the guy. The thing is we have to see how he deals. There's going to be a lot of pressure, and I don't think he'll have a problem with that, judging off of his already pressure-filled career. He is a 3-star, but I mean, man, you watch him play, he's one of the high-end 3-star. Because to be a 3-star like that in Miami, it's one of those that I said earlier. You take him out of Florida, you put him anywhere else, he's probably at least a 4-star. This guy is good, man. And to be able
keep in mind too, I don't mean to cut you off, Liam, but FIU for the next few years is going to be playing in a conference where half the teams are shipping out to somewhere else. Mm-hmm. They're bringing in a bunch of FCS schools. Conference USA is going to become the Wild West of conferences for the next few years or so, and that's something that Mike and this FIU team can certainly capitalize on. And so far, I think they're doing a good job with the recruiting class. So
I think for the big thing for them is there's still a couple people, I think Western Kentucky is sticking around, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So
they're still going to be there. One that is joining that is going to be a big team is Liberty. I know they just lost their coach, but Liberty is no joke. I mean, if you've seen their facilities, if you see, they're good. So there's still teams there that are gonna pose a challenge, but it's wide open. Can they do the FIU men's soccer? And I would call this a new conference. I know it's the Conference USA, but it's a new conference. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say and go win the conference title, but can they make a name for themselves for the next generation of new Conference USA? Can they be like, hey, we got to go play FIU? It's a tough place. They're a tough team to beat. That's their challenge for the next 2-3 years.
Getting threatened to go to the cage surrounded by a packed FIU crowd.
I don't know about that one. That still might be a far.
The crowd is still
to be determined.
We'll see. Before we get into news break, Liam. Before we get into news break, I asked this question to Johnny, and I'll ask it to you too. What would you say was, in your opinion, the highest point of the season and the lowest point of the season? My highest point was the Louisiana Tech game. It was following It was your second straight win. You were only, which
put 'em
made it so that you were only 2 wins away from a bowl. It was an exciting game, double overtime. It was dramatic as hell, but you beat a conference opponent, and you looked good doing it. So that was a lot of hype. And the lowest point of the season was absolutely, in my opinion, the FAU game, because it was absolutely the most even Shula Bowl in years upon years. And the Panthers still peed down their leg and lost 52-7.
Yeah,
that was bad.
So
I'm
Kevin,
glad
I forget what your high and low was.
I believe it was the same thing. If not,
Yep.
my low would have been, I think, the Western Kentucky game. I'm pretty
That
sure
is true.
it was either FAU or Western Kentucky. I know that.
I'm gonna. My high has to be. I agree. LA Tech 100%. If I wanted to be different, I could go Charlotte because they got a coach fired, which is crazy.
Oh yeah,
Dominated that game. I thought we were gonna Western Kentucky them and give them a 73-0. But obviously we slowed down. But for me, I actually think my low point comes following the FAU game, and I think it's the UTEP game. You didn't expect them, that North Texas game, you expected them to lose. The way they lost it was really, really bad, 52 points. I think they got toasted for like 80 yards on the first play of the game. Granted, they're playing a 30-year-old quarterback, which is difficult. But I got to go with the UTEP game because, you come again, after the FAU disappointment, which was awful. All the hype around that game, everyone thought this was the year that we had the chance. I mean, I was on WLRN and I said that they had a chance. It was a coin flip, and then they got toasted. So I'll probably never be on WLRN again after that one. So thanks to them for that. But I wanted to see how they responded again after the FAU game because you still had a chance. You had a winnable game against Middle Tennessee. You had a winnable game against UTEP. People said that the 4 games remaining would expect those against North Texas and FAU. So kind of the way they lost them probably killed their confidence because it wasn't like they were close. They got blown out in both games. But the UTEP game for me, they had the chance to be like, hey, listen, we know what happened the last 2 weeks. We still got a bowl game to play for. They came out, and in my opinion, it was worse than FAU because at that point I had seen they were basically checked out. They didn't look like they were invested, and, it was a poor performance. It was really poor. And UTEP was a winnable game. It really was. It was a winnable game. And that for me would be my low because it's, North Texas and FAU for me, I was like, okay, they're the better teams. In all honesty, they're the better team. They showed it. UTEP is on the same quote unquote level as us. How do we stack up against them? Not well. I want to say, I don't have the schedule up. I think, what was it? 40-6, 40-7, something like that.
Yeah.
46. Yeah. So, it was bad. So to be different than FAU, because initially I was going to say that before I first heard you guys, I'll go UTEP because it's equal for me. It's right there. It was pretty embarrassing if you ask me. And that was the killer. The Middle Tennessee game was just a heartbreaker though. That one was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Was that the game I said, Jake? Well, I think it was UTEP.
I don't know.
I'll have to look back, but I know
the thing about the middle game, it was the last game of the season. FIU couldn't go bowling even if they had won. A lot of people.
That was a good game, though. That was a fun game.
I said it at the time, and I think it reigned supreme. The Middle Tennessee game for me was the perfect encapsulation of the entire season. Yeah, they had a chance to really prove everybody wrong, to do something crazy, which was the crazy 20-point comeback. Yep. Then they got toasted early in the game. They're down 20, which was like the WKU game. They come back even. You're 4-4 now. And then you just choke it away at the end, which is the last 4 games. I thought it was the perfect encapsulation of the season and how it had gone for them. So it could work for both the highest and lowest points of the season was that Middle Tennessee game. Yeah.
All right, time for a very quick news break. I will take it over and talk a bit of FIU news in the world of FIU athletics and also the college itself. Let's start off with a home and home series announced with the North Texas Mean Green for FIU football. Keep in mind that North Texas is one of the teams in Conference USA that is moving to the AAC in the coming year, so a matchup with them is no longer guaranteed, but the two teams have announced a home and home. The first game will be in Miami in 2023, so coming right up. And the second will be in Denton, Texas in 2029. Keep in mind that North Texas beat FIU 52-14 this last season, but we won't really get into that. In addition, T.Y. Hilton killing it with the Dallas Cowboys in 3 games of work. The FIU alumnus has recorded 102 yards off of just 5 catches, including an over 50-yard bomb in their big win against Philadelphia. And T.Y. Hilton and the Cowboys are looking to make some waves in the playoffs in the coming weeks. And last but not least for FIU news, Stephen Fain is retiring from FIU after working at the college for over 50 years. He was hired as a professor of education under then-President Charles E. Perry. Well, of course, most students probably recognize Charles E. Perry as being part of the Primera Casa building on campus. Stephen Fain was, again, hired as a professor of education and since became the founder and director of an academic institute devoted to Jewish studies. He's been on campus since before the university even opened in 1972 and well through its past 50th anniversary last year. So wish him the best of luck. And that is your FIU news break. It's time to get into some NFL predictions, Liam. What do you say?
Before that, I want to mention FIU basketball. What a game between Charlotte and FIU. It's 62-60 with 54 seconds left in the second period, which in this case, for the ones that don't know, college basketball for FIU, it's 2-minute to 20-minute periods. So it's 60-62 against 11-3 Charlotte. So
they're a good team.
You know,
damn,
very good team. And then you have UAB on Saturday. So
UAB's
crazy stuff.
They're playing FIU.
Denver Jones of 20 points in this game so far. He is him when it comes to FIU men's basketball. Arturo Dean with 15 as well. FIU is looking good. Hopefully they can clutch that. There's only 11 seconds left. So, and they're up by 2. I wish I had the game on right now. I think it's on ESPN Plus.
And before we do go in NFL predictions, I want to send a quick prayer out to, Damar Hamlin, everything that occurred to him. We're very glad here that he is awake and he did write on a piece of paper, talking about the game on Monday, which I found pretty cool. So we're very happy about the news with Damar Hamlin. So, it's NFL prediction time. We're going to go through all the games and, Jake and I aren't too happy with the Dolphins, but it's okay.
Yeah.
What is it? 5-game losing streak already or 4? It feels like
20. It's 5. Yes, it
feels like 20, but all right. Dolphins and Jets. The Dolphins, they're not favored, so the Jets are favored. So I guess this is an underdog pick. I'm going Dolphins here. I believe in Skylar Thompson. I more in the Dolphins defense, but we'll go Skylar Thompson. I'm not feeling too good, but we'll go Dolphins.
I don't feel good about this at all. All right.
No, I don't. I really don't.
It's been a long road, and I know I think the Jets are also 8-8. They've been eliminated. This game is like the battle of mid, but the Dolphins still have a chance. I think their playoff scenario is if they win and then New England loses to Buffalo, they are in. And that's how that's going. It's just I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Zach Wilson. I don't think he's going to be the answer for the New York Jets in the future, and Mike White even less. I think in general, Miami is the better team on paper. They have the better weapons. I know their defense is banged up, but their defensive line has still done really, really well. I think they have the better coach in McDaniel. I'll go Miami, but at this point, if Miami finds a way to lose this game to the Jets, I'm not even going to be surprised. And I'm wearing a Marino jersey. If they had Prime Marino playing for them on Sunday, I'd feel really good about our chances. But I don't know. What say you, Liam?
Before we get in it, I just got the notification. FIU held on. They beat Charlotte 62-60.
Huge win.
To be different, I'm going to go with the Jets. I might have personal bias for that one.
I wonder why.
He's a Patriots fan.
It's me. I have no idea what Jake just said, but not just kidding. But no, in all honesty, though, I think just, the way the season for Miami has played out, I don't have a lot of confidence in them right now. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Jets either. But
this is a toilet bowl.
It's a bad game. It's a coin flip. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like either team could do it. And if you guys have both said Jets, I honestly probably would have said Dolphins. I just like I'm gonna go.
You didn't want to go for the sweep. I get it.
Yeah,
I
I also
gotta be
want
the
the
lone
Jets.
wolf.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I want the Jets to win because if we win, we're in.
Yeah.
That's besides the point.
New
Yeah,
England
we really don't care
finds a
about it.
way to
We
sneak
don't care
into
about the
playoffs.
Patriots, to be honest. So
Yeah, I know.
I think we move on. This is a good game here. Chiefs and Raiders. I mean, more better for the Chiefs, but I'm going.
It's a
Chiefs.
Saturday game, right? That's
Oh,
Saturday.
and it's
I think 4:30.
who is this? Jarrett Stidham starting once again. So
Patriots
keep that in mind. Yeah, former Patriot.
Mhm.
Chiefs versus Raiders. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is definitely a trap game for the Chiefs, but I know Mahomes realizes that they need to win this game if they even want to think about sniffing the number 1 seed. The Raiders, I said it a while ago. I think they're one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL, along with Denver. I'll go with Kansas City. As a matter of fact, I'll even double it up and say they're going to win by at least 20 points.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas City win big. I just don't see Las Vegas doing much.
You know what's crazy, by the way? There's no games. There's no NFL game tonight. There's no more Thursday night football, and that kind of makes me sad.
So the season's ending.
I know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I will say Saturday football kind of awesome. We've had a few Saturday games this season. That Chiefs Raiders game is on Saturday, along with the next one that I believe Kevin's about to go over, which is Titans Jags.
This is for the playoffs right here. This is gonna be a
Yeah.
very fun game. I put this on Twitter out the other day, but the Jaguars and the Dolphins have the same exact record. Just want to make that clear. But I'm gonna take the Jaguars.
Cool.
At least one. We at least could be able to root for one Florida team in the playoffs, getting bounced in the wild cards. So
Well,
I'll go
isn't
with
Tampa
Jaguars.
also in? Isn't Tampa? also
Tampa's in, but I don't like
Yeah,
Tom Brady. So
Tom,
sorry.
Brady.
Okay.
I know Liam loves Tom Brady, but
Yeah.
No comment.
all right, Jake, you're up. I got the Jags.
So who's in at quarterback for Tennessee? Is it Josh Dobbs again?
It is Josh.
Oh my God! All right.
Is Derrick Henry playing?
Yeah.
He's playing?
Yeah.
Even if he is playing, or even if he's not, I'm gonna take Jacksonville because I feel like they've been playing inspired football, and Tennessee has shown that they're not an upper echelon team. I actually am a big fan of Trevor Lawrence. I think that with the right weapons and with the right coaching, he could be an absolute star in the making. He's shown that so far these last few games. I'll go with Jacksonville here. But I will say, if Jacksonville pulls the Jacksonville and finds a way to screw this up, I will be extremely disappointed with them. But give me the Jags.
I agree. I'm gonna go Jags. They're the hotter team right now. They're the hotter team right now. Tennessee, too many uncertainties.
Yeah.
We have Bucks and Falcons. I am going to take Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and they will finish over 500.
Crazy.
I agree. I'm not big on Atlanta right now. Give me the Buccaneers.
I'm going with the Bucks if they play their starters. I saw that they might consider resting some guys, but either way, actually, I take it back. Either way, I'm going with the Bucks. It's the Falcons. They're going to blow a lead even if they have it. I know that from personal experience. So, yeah.
Alrighty, this is the game Liam will go Patriots with. Patriots versus Bills. I'm going to take the Bills because we need the Bills to win, Jake.
Yes.
And it's obviously the better team.
This game is complicated, right? Because the Bills-Bengals game was suspended, and it looks like that's not even going to be replayed. And they're going to have to do something convoluted to maybe adjust the playoff system or do something so that the records even out, yada, yada, yada. What is Buffalo going to do in this game? Are they also going to rest players? Are they going to go easy on New England? I really don't know, but all I'll say on New England is that they barely got by a third-string quarterback last week, and they're going up against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in Josh Allen. There is still a lot to ride for this game because I believe if Buffalo loses and Kansas City wins, the Chiefs get home field advantage. I want to say that would be the case. I'm not 100% certain, but
I believe
in any
so.
event, I'll go with Buffalo here. And if their starters are playing and they're going to be playing for DeMar, then it's hard not to go. Now, Liam, your heart says Patriots, but what does your brain say?
Listen, I might be a Patriots fan, but I'm not delusional. The Bills are going to win. I'm
All right.
I'm not delusional. The Bills are going to win. Especially, I already had them winning, but I don't think – I think the Bills might win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win it for DeMar.
Yeah.
Listen, what happened is awful. My heart breaks for all of them. And the fact that they're even going to step on a football field, I think they should have been given more time, but it's inspiring. And I think that if their head is right, and I as a Patriots fan also don't want to win that game if it's clear that like they're just not in it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like they need more time. They he almost died on the field. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Thing. But I do think the Bills are going to win. It pains me to say it, but listen, we have no offense. We have no offense. And
who's the coordinator? Patricia is his name. He's awful. Absolutely awful.
Listen, I want the Patriots to win. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I want us to win. We still have a chance at the playoffs, which I cannot believe I just said. But we do. But I'll put it to you this way: if the Patriots up like they did against Minnesota, we have a chance. But that's a big if because we had to play our best and we still couldn't even win that game. I'm going Bills. Unfortunately, I think the Bills win.
There we go.
Vikings versus Bears. I don't know if the Vikings are going to play the starters, but I'm still going to go Vikings. I like them a lot more than the Bears. And I believe it's Nathan Peterman starting for the Bears.
Yeah.
It's not Justin Fields. So makes my pick even easier.
That's why I'm taking the Vikings as well. Justin Fields was the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears are nothing without Justin Fields. You put Justin Fields in half of the other teams in the NFL, and he's an MVP caliber player who's going to football. But Chicago is letting him down. And I got to go with Minnesota. I still think there is a deep part of me that believes that Minnesota is still a bit overrated, right? But I still got to go with the Vikes in this one.
If Justin Fields was playing, I would have wholeheartedly said the Bears.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I also do think the Vikings still have something to play for somewhere. I don't know, but I think they'll play some start. Regardless, I'm going to take the Vikings. Had Justin Fields started, I would have gone Chicago, but I got to go Minnesota.
Yep. Ravens and Bengals. This is a huge game for them here. I'm going to go with the Bengals. I like the Bengals a lot more here. Tyler Huntley, I believe, is a starter again. So you have to go Bengals here.
I agree, Kevin. The Bengals beat future Dolphins quarterback Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and
please,
even so, the Ravens can basically sit this one out. They're in the playoffs. They can just look forward to whoever the hell they got to play. But Cincinnati, and I know we didn't see much from the Bills-Bengals game, but damn, their offense did look good. And I'll go with the Bengals here. I am a fan of Joe Shiesty. And I think they'll take care of business.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I'm gonna go Bengals. They're red hot. They're a red hot team. And I think they're gonna take that one for sure.
Texans versus Colts. I picked the Texans on our show with Eric Henry as my underdog pick against who was it? Was it against the Ravens? No, it was against the Titans. It was against the Titans. And I got that pick right.
I'll give you
and
credit.
You know what?
There.
I'm going with the Texans again because they're playing Jeff Saturday and the Colts.
Yeah.
You really don't have much to look forward to that one. That's going to be a toilet bowl game.
Snooze fest, man.
Exactly. I'm going Texans here.
It's not even the battle of mid. It's just the battle of
the toilet
bowl.
No
one is going to be watching this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something crazy here, something out of the books, out of pocket.
I know what he's going to say.
If you forgot, both of these teams played in September, first game of the season, and it ended up in a tie.
Oh,
I am going to say that's gonna happen again. They're gonna end up in a tie again.
You know what? Good shit.
I respect it. You know what? I'll go with the trifecta just so one of us is right, unless some unheard of thing ends up happening. I'll take the Colts. Just
Okay.
because,
One of us will end up being right.
one of us has to be right, unless unprecedented things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Panthers and Saints. I am going with the Panthers here. That's an underdog pick too.
Who's that quarterback for Carolina?
I think it's Sam Darnold, but I do not know.
Okay, yeah, I think it is Sammy.
Pretty good.
Both teams don't have anything to play for, right? Both are eliminated.
Correct.
So I think both teams are kind of even. I'll take the Saints because they're at home. That's really all I can really say. I will say though, the last few weeks there have been a lot of upsets, right? There have been a lot of upsets. I don't think this week's going to have many upsets because the teams that need to win know they got to win for playoffs and whatnot, and they'll make it happen.
Correct.
I'll go with New Orleans.
I'm going to go with JK. I'll take the Saints. Simply, I agree. Sole fact, I was picking the home team. Yeah, whoever was the home team wins that game, in my opinion. So,
Browns and Steelers. Steelers are playing for a playoff spot here. Browns aren't playing for much, but it'd be nice to keep the Steelers out of the playoffs. So I do believe the Browns will play the starters. Doesn't matter. I'm going Browns. I'm going with the upset pick here.
I agree, actually. I agree with you, Kevin. That is the only upset. I think I'm probably going to go. I mean, Dolphins isn't that big an upset, but I mean, it's like even whatever. But I know everyone. I know all the bettors are on Pittsburgh, but I am going to say Cleveland does what they've been doing for the last few years and ruins Pittsburgh in the big games. I'm going to go Brownies.
I'm gonna go with the Steelers. I think Kenny Pickett is gonna take the boys to the playoffs. So there's that.
All right.
Wait, hang on. So if Miami loses, New England wins, does Pittsburgh still get in or
no? We do.
Okay, so best case. So in order for the Steelers to get in, Miami has to lose.
And
New England has to lose. Okay.
And with what my picks are so far, then
very possible. It's very possible. Yeah.
I have the Steelers going because I have both Miami and New England losing. So,
all right, Giants and Eagles. I'm going to take the Giants here. I do believe Eagles will sit out starters. They're already locked in. They're going to be hosting their game at home. I'm going to take the Giants here.
I think Jalen Hurts is still a little bit injured.
And I don't even think he would play either way, healthy or not. I think you want to save him up for the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are going to rest players. Plus, I really like. I think. Can we all agree that Daboll is coach of the year? I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Brian Daboll is coach of the year.
He would probably be coach
for the Giants.
Doug Peterson's a good pickup too.
I know, but aside from Saquon, like what other real weapons do the Giants have?
Danny Dimes, man.
Danny Dimes. I love the Giants. As a certified hater of New England, the Giants have a special place in my heart. But
sure they do.
Give me the Giants, okay?
Listen, for me, this is a no-win situation because I have the Eagles and the Giants. I don't like either team. However, I'm gonna go with Philly because they're still playing to win their division. They could technically, Look at the Cowboys.
Yeah, Dallas is 12-4. Yeah,
look at the Cowboys. So there's a chance that they don't win the division. So I know Jalen Hurts isn't going to be playing but I think everyone else is. I think that they're gonna win. They're not gonna want to choke it up. They had the division all but sealed up for the entire year. So I'm gonna go Eagles. I think it's gonna be a really, really good game though. I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think it's gonna be one of the better games this weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Staying in the NFC East, you have Cowboys and Commanders. I'm taking the Cowboys. There's not much more to say. Sam Howell starting for the Commanders. Just want to clear that up.
Yeah, Dallas.
I'm going Commanders.
Whoa.
What?
I'm going for the sole fact that one thing Dallas loves to do, and we've all seen it, is choke. And I feel like they'll have the opportunity, even if the Eagles win, they'll have the opportunity to win the NFC East. It's like, oh man, we have the opportunity. They blow it. It's in the Cowboys' DNA. I could be eating my words. I most likely will. But I want to spice it up. I'm gonna go Commanders.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Commanders.
It is also in Washington's DNA to be stupid, and
Listen,
I think they can
Washington
also
wins. They
find a way.
finished 500. So you know what? Around 500 at least. I think because the
Yeah,
tie
they're
messes.
7-8-1. So
Yeah, they could be 8-1. So
okay.
listen, I'm going Commanders. Sam Howell's about to have a great game. Yeah. Hear me out.
All right. Chargers and Broncos, taking the Chargers.
Yeah. I will say though, I think Denver finds a way to make it close until the
They
very
will,
end.
but
But I think Justin Herbert will pull away, and
Yeah.
the Chargers will get the win.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers. As long as they let Russ cook, they'll be fine.
Yeah. By the way, Liam, you said you have Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Who you got in the NFC to make it?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Tennessee's not that good.
It really depends on this weekend, in my opinion, because like I'm still not sold on Philly. I want to see Jalen Hurts back. I'm not sold on Minnesota. I'm not sold on the Cowboys.
You can't be sold on any team.
I'm not sold on it. The only team I'm sold on, there's 3 teams, and they're all AFC teams. So
Yeah.
Bills, Chiefs, Bengals. I think all 3 have a chance. NFC, I don't know. Honestly,
How about Brock Purdy and the Niners?
Hear me out. Listen, hear me out. And this is not coming from the New England side of things. It's coming from watching Tom Brady play. Tell me it wouldn't be the most Tom Brady thing of all time to sneak into the playoffs, right? After all the things that have happened this season and make a run to the Super Bowl. You know, if you give him a chance and he's in the playoffs, you give Brady the chance at the playoffs.
You're right.
I'm just saying, because we're not convinced on all the other teams. You know what you're going to get from Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to make a run, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
Whoa, look at this.
It is something.
Report from Tom Pelissero. The NFL will consider a neutral site for the AFC Championship game. Full details. I'm not going to read the details.
Huh?
Interesting.
Possible neutral site for the AFC Championship game. Interesting. Oh, well,
So
yeah,
what,
it makes
you're gonna
sense.
pick a random stadium and just put it there?
I guess. A little sucks for, the home team.
You're going to put it in the Hawaii Bowl.
So are they not going to do it for the NFC?
Yeah, you're right. That would be
Just they
really should be even.
But yeah, I think just keep an eye on the Bucks. Just keep an eye on the Bucks. But if I had to pick right now, you're forcing me to pick somebody. I'll go with the Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the best choice.
But keep an eye on the Bucks. That's all I'm gonna say.
The AFC Championship game at Wembley Stadium.
Oh, bro.
It doesn't get more neutral than that.
Yeah,
You're right. Rams and Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks. That's a weird game to pick.
It is strange because I actually kind of like Baker in Los Angeles. You saw them on Christmas. They just absolutely dismantled Denver, but then they also got mollywopped by the Chargers the next week. I think it's going to be a similar situation to Denver. The Rams will find a way to keep the game close, but Geno Smith does not write to everybody and instead throws, 4 touchdowns and leads the Seahawks to another win.
Look at this. Before you go, Liam, look at among other notes from Tom Pelissero. If Baltimore defeats Cincinnati on Sunday, if those 2 clubs are scheduled to play a wild card game against one another, the site for that game would be determined by a coin toss. So,
what?
That's tough.
This is weird stuff, man.
This sounds like you know what? You know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me of like the 70s where the location of like home team there was no home team system. It was just based on a rotation every year based on division. So even though the 72 Dolphins went undefeated, they had to go on the road to play Pittsburgh in the playoffs because of a divisional thing. That's what that's shockingly reminding me of right now.
I'm just like imagining Roger Goodell just sitting on his couch and they just give him a coin. He flips and he's like, all right, let me call them up. Baltimore.
and it's broadcasted from his basement like the 2020 draft.
On Zoom. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Roger, if you're listening, let's make it happen.
Let's do it. All right. Seahawks and Rams.
I'm going Seahawks. I go Seahawks. Rams just haven't been themselves. I'm going Seahawks.
Cardinals and 49ers. I am taking the 49ers here. Brock Purdy show continues.
Does Arizona make this interesting?
This smells upset, but they don't have Kyler Murray. So
who is it? It's David Blau at quarterback
in a long time.
Arizona. But this is also JJ Watt's final game, so you know he's going to give it his all.
You're right.
He could give it 200%, and San Francisco will still find a way to win. So give me the Niners.
Yeah, I'm going 49ers. Even if the Cards had Kyler Murray, I still go 49ers. They're hot.
Yeah. All right, this is going to be a very fun game. This was flexed to Sunday night. Lions and Packers. The Lions can know their fate, their playoff fate, before they even step on the field, which is crazy. I really hope the Lions make it, and I do think they will make it to the playoffs. Lions, Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year.
Agreed.
They have to win this, right, to get in?
Well, they have to play either way, but their fate could be decided before this game even starts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it the Seahawks game, right? The Seahawks game decides their fate?
Oh, yeah.
I believe so. So if Rams win, Lions aren't in. No, Lions could get in, I believe.
Yeah, they have to still beat the Packers, but
if Seattle wins, Detroit's eliminated.
My predictions do not concur with what I said about Detroit, but
what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? That's what we got here with Detroit and Green Bay. Both teams are red hot. But I think Green Bay is the overall better team. The Lions dropped the ball against Carolina not that long ago, a game they should have easily won, and they just looked bad. And especially you're playing at Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers has had so many great memories of just torching the Lions, as he usually does with most of the NFC North. I'll reluctantly take Green Bay, but I would not even be shocked if Detroit somehow finds a way to win this.
I'm going with the Lions. You mentioned, obviously, the Carolina game, but let's not forget, too, right around that same time, they took the Bills all the way to a last-second field goal. Yeah. Detroit, listen, the way I look at it, either way, they're going to want to beat the Packers because either they're going to the playoffs or they're knocking the Packers out of the playoffs. That's the way I look at it. They have a chance to knock them out of the playoffs. So that's the way I'm thinking of it. I think the Lions are going to win. They're red hot. I like the Lions.
Wrap it up, Jake.
All right. So this is a very fun episode, Liam. Again, we can't thank you enough for joining. Your agents were very helpful. The paperwork, everything sent out. It was super nice. And we're happy to have you on the show. This was tough for me today. This is my flu game, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed I've been stopping the camera every now and again. I feel awful right now, but
you went through.
Yeah, don't you hate it, like, you know, when you have a cold and like one part of your nose is like super like just, I don't know, just like wet, and the other side is like dry as a desert. It sucks.
Real quick, guys. Canceled. Bills Bengals game canceled. I just got that here.
Yep.
Yeah.
It sucks. What about the Bills? What about the Bengals fans who, are they going to get a refund or?
It's not really where I'm thinking right now. I'm sure they'll figure that out, but
yeah. No one knows anything. If the NFL does not know anything right now on what to do, they're just making all this up as it goes along.
Yeah.
All right, Liam, any final thoughts? Any words you like to give to the fans out there watching?
Just appreciate you guys having me on. Glad we were able to get this done. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the agent. But no. It's a ton of fun, guys. I really appreciate it. And, I'll leave it with a Go Patriots.
Oh, that can't be the way. No, that can't be the way we end it. Kevin, say something.
Alrighty. Thank you guys all for watching. From Jake, myself, Liam. Peace out. Paws up. So we'll see you guys all in next week. So go Dolphins, and that's where I'll end it.